I never thought of myself as beautiful. Interesting, fascinating, but not beautiful. I was full of complexes. I thought I was too tall, I thought I was too thin, my hair was dead straight. All the other girls had curly hair. But strangely enough, all those complexes helped me. I didn't like my cheekbones. I thought they looked like doorknobs. But people say, no, that's good. It catches the light. It's very good. I said, but I got to go to square shoulders. Paco Rabanne said, but I want that. Paco Rabanne dresses were made of metal. And he wanted a model with shoulders strong enough to carry these 30 or 40 kilos of metal. And I realized that there isn't such a thing as a fixed standard of beauty. I think anybody can be beautiful. Hi, W Magazine. I'm Amanda Lear, and this is my life in parties. I was going to art school because I wanted to become a painter. I was in Paris, and one afternoon I was in Saint-Germain-des-Prés, and there I met a little lady. She approached me and she said, "Would you like to be a model?" And I said, "No, I'm a student, I'm an art student, I just want to be a painter." She said, "But you're very tall, you're very thin, you could be a model." So she took me into her agency and they taught me how to walk and how to put on makeup. And I started working with Saint Laurent and Paco Rabanne and all those designers in Paris. After the Paco Rabanne show, he took me to dinner, and there was Salvador Dali. I wasn't very much into his painting. Personally, I like Picasso, I like other paintings. But anyway, he was sitting there with his funny moustache and his stick, and surrounded by a court, like a king. There was hairdresser, photographer, model, they were all around him. Oh, divine Dali, oh, you're so wonderful. I thought he looked ridiculous. Paco Rabanne knew him, so he introduced me, and he said, "This is Amanda, she's my model." And Dali looked at me, said, "Oh, cheekbones, yeah. You have the most beautiful skull I ever saw." Skull? He said, "What do you do?" So I was a bit ashamed to say I'm a model. So I said, "Well, actually, I'm going to art school. I'm a painter, like you." So that didn't go down well at all. He said to me, no, stop it. We are not colleagues at all. Women painting are terrible. They paint flowers, they paint baby crying. I mean, it's ridiculous. Real painting is Velázquez, Vermeer. Just name me one woman painter. I said, well, there's plenty of women painters. Mary Cassatt, Frida Kahlo, Suzanne Valadon, there's plenty. He said, no, it's rubbish. It's not real painting. Don't ever show me your paintings. I said, I'll never see him again. I mean, he was horrible. The next morning, he phoned me and he invited me to lunch. And this time, I saw a completely different man. It was actually Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. There really was a complete double personality. The public man, I didn't like him at all. He was doing everything to show off, to shock people, But the private man was a wonderful person. And so that was the beginning of our friendship. It went on for 15, 16 years. People in Paris started to know, blah, 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 what's going on there, because Dali has a wife, and what is he doing with Amanda? Is it a trio, or perhaps the wife is a lesbian? And Dali loved all that. Dali and his wife didn't have a relationship the way we think in our bourgeois sort of way, husband and wife. Gala was posing for his painting. She was his muse. They never had sex, never. But he needed her. It was Gala who pushed him to paint, who decided this is good, this is not good. She's the one who was fixing the price of the painting. She's the one who was dealing with the art. Personally, I'm very jealous. So I admire this woman who was not jealous at all. She was, in her 80s, and she sees this young model girl arriving there with her miniskirt, all the makeup and the false eyelashes. Obviously, she should be jealous. And no, not at all. She said, well, my husband likes you very much. He needs you for his inspiration, for his painting. It's okay by me, Dali adored parties. He wanted to be invited to all the big events, all the parties. So every time he was receiving an invitation, he was putting them on the mantelpiece there so everybody could see, oh, you're invited to this one, oh, you're invited there. He enjoyed very much arriving at a place where millions of photographers would rush and clack. I was very shy. I wasn't speaking at all. In fact, I was very silent. People say, what's the matter with her? Is she depressed? Yes, I was depressed. I was silent, watching what was going on. Because Dali was a star of the show, and I was just there. That's Paco Rabanne, Françoise Hardy, and Dali. Françoise Hardy was the pop star of the 60s and 70s in France, and Paco Rabanne liked to dress her. Salvador Dali was actually a groupie, Every time there was a pop star coming to Paris, he wanted to meet him. And so that's why Paco Rabanne brought Françoise Hardy. Dali himself was very vain. There you see he's all done up properly. Every day he was putting a special wax on the moustache to make it stand like that. And because the moustache was going grey, he was borrowing my eye pencil and he was painting his moustache black. And he always kissed me on the forehead. Good night, my dear. Mwah. There was a black moustache printed on my forehead. Mary Quant saw me, and Mary Quant said, "You have good legs. I'm launching the miniskirt, and we're going to make a tour in the United States." So she took me with another model. We were two models, another blonde girl, and we both flew to the States. And everywhere we went, we were insulted. People were screaming abuse at us, saying, "It's disgusting, you're showing your legs and the skirts are too short." At the end of the tour, we stopped in New York. I fell in love and I decided to stay in New York. They sent me to Vogue to Diana Vreeland. And Diana Vreeland looked at me and she liked me. She liked the cheekbones. And she said, "Well, if you want to be a model in New York, you have to be very professional. You have to be ready every morning with your hair washed and clean and your nails done and everything to go and see all the photographers." That was a problem because every night I was out dancing, at Max Kansas City and down with Andy Warhol and Nico and all those friends of mine. So I didn't make a big career modeling in New York. This is Andy Warhol. In New York there was an Andy Warhol gang, and there was a Salvador Dali. And they both had their parasites, hangers on. Sometimes there was a bit of jealousy, but they enjoyed meeting each other very much, I must say. Dali was telling me that in the early days, Warhol was making drawing of shoes. And he came to Dali and he showed him his drawing. And Dali said, "Well, if you enjoy doing everyday things like the shoes or whatever, why don't you also do cans of soup or whatever?" And that's how Warhol started saying, "Yeah, why not?" And arrived the Brillo pad and the Campbell soup. Anyway, after a while, I broke up with my boyfriend. I went back to England. This picture was taken in the King's Road in London, the opening of a clothes shop for men called Dandy Fashion. This opening was amazing because there was John Lennon who came with Yoko Ono, and there was George Harrison with Patty Boyd, and they invited me to this opening. Snap, snap. I was a very big fan of the Beatles because I adore lyrics. To me, the lyrics are very important, not just the melody, but the lyrics. And they had great lyrics. And they wrote a song about my boyfriend who died in a car crash. I was my boyfriend, Tara Brown. "I read the news today, oh boy, about a lucky man who made the grade." And obviously that made me like even more. This is a photo by Peter Schlesinger. Peter Schlesinger was a very dear friend of mine, still is, a very dear friend of mine in London. He was actually the boyfriend of David Hockney. He was actually the boy in The Bigger Splash, the famous painting of David Hockney. And one day in the summer, we sat there on their terrace, and Peter snapped that picture of me. And he wanted me to put my hair down and go phew like that, and the hair was standing up like that. And I said, "I look absolutely ridiculous." And he said, "No, this is what I wanted." One day, I was doing the fashion show for Eddie Clark with Patty Boyd, Marianne Faithfull. The singer of Roxy Music, Brian Ferry, saw me. And Brian said, "Now, this is the girl I want for the photo, for the cover of a new album." I had no idea who Roxy Music was. But anyway, I said, "All right." He took me to his place, and on the piano there was a photo of Kim Novak. And I like Kim Novak. And I said, "You like?" He said, "Yeah, because I like Hitchcock, Vertigo. I want to create the image of a girl, very mysterious, very, very, very far away, a bit dominating." And I said, "Well, okay, that's it." This is a famous Roxy Music cover. I think it was the second album of Roxy Music. Anthony Price, the designer, dressed me all in black leather, and we shot this with a Black Panther. When this cover came out, they had huge posters. They had big posters plastered all over the place on Hollywood Boulevard, everywhere. Because of that cover, my career started. I was a bit frustrated being a model. Being a model is just smile, shut up, smile, show me your teeth, and that's it. David Bowie saw that cover of Roxy Music, and he said, "I must meet that girl." He knew very well Marianne Faithfull. So one night, really late, I don't know, about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call in London from Marianne, and Marianne said, "I'm with David Bowie, and he wants to meet you." I said, "But it's the middle of the night." And she said, "He really insists." So anyway, so David Bowie sent me his car to take me to his flat. So Marianne, after 5 minutes, obviously, she left. And she left me alone with David Bowie. He had the flu. He had no makeup. He didn't look that good, I must say. And I said, "Well, what do you want?" He said, "I wanted to meet the girl from this photograph. Let's go to dinner." So he took me to a club. And we had dinner with Mick Jagger and Bianca. So the whole evening, David Bowie talks to Mick Jagger. And I'm with Bianca, I don't know what to talk about. At the end of dinner, David Bowie took me home with his car and he spent the night with me. He was charming, he was a good lover. And the next morning, my phone rang and a woman voice say, "Can I speak with my husband?" "Your husband?" I said, "Well, you didn't tell me that you had a wife because I knew nothing about him." He said, "Yeah, I have a wife, but it's okay, it's okay. Hello, Angie." And another trio. So I had this affair with David Bowie. He was the first one to say to me, "You must do something with your voice. You know, your voice is interesting. You have charisma, you have something." So he paid for my singing classes. He put me under a contract. We recorded the first single, which never came out. And every time I was saying to his manager, "So when is my single being released?" "Don't worry, keep quiet. We are busy at the moment with the David new tour." And I was sitting there waiting, saying, "Well, what about me? What about me?" So after a year or two, I decided I've had enough of this. So I took a plane, I flew back to Europe. And there a record company, from Germany, called me from Munich. And they said, "We like your voice. We are interested." And that was the beginning of my singing career. And I stopped seeing David Bowie, obviously. They wanted to create a sort of Marlene Dietrich image, but disco. I started singing, "I try to remember." They said, "No, lower. Oh, I said, "Try." No, much lower. I said, "I can't go any lower than this." So they made me smoke. I started smoking cigarettes. About 4 or 5 o'clock in the middle of the night, when my voice was completely, they say, "Yeah, that is good, yeah." And we started recording my very first album, in which there was this song, "Follow Me." The whole idea of "Follow Me" was that it was a devil. The devil was speaking to this girl and saying, "Follow me, and I'll make you rich and famous all over the world." And of course, that made me famous. We sold 28 million records. I became famous immediately all over Europe. But people say, "She's got a strange voice, That's
to death before she shot him down. Everybody's got the fever. That is something.
I was hosting a show in the south of France, and Berlusconi saw me on this show, and he called me one night, said, "Oh, my name is Silvio Berlusconi, and I'm looking for someone to host a big Saturday night extravaganza show, and you'll be perfect." And I never heard of Berlusconi. I said, "Well, who are you?" So he sent me his private jet. I arrived in Milan, and I realized that Berlusconi was this multi-millionaire, sort of Italian Donald Trump, And he was launching this television channel called Channel 5. And he needed somebody like me, who looked quite good on TV, but also who could speak languages, because he wanted me to interview a lot of people, because I speak English, French, German, Italian. So he put me under contract. Berlusconi insists that when you are invited to somebody's house, you dress through the television. We are invited into people's homes, so we must look good. And so he dressed me by Valentino, all the Italian designer. Even the cameraman, that you never see the cameraman. The cameraman was in smoking dinner jacket with a blow tie. That's absolutely. Now, this was the last show of Jean-Paul Gaultier. We did a huge show at Le Châtelet in Paris, and he insisted that I should be part of the show. And I said, "I can't, because I'm too old." And he said, yeah, but you will just show your legs. So he made me this outfit, and I showed my legs. When I left the catwalk, the stage, went backstage, the dressing room was upstairs. So I was naked with just my knickers on. And I rushed into the lift to go up to the dressing room like this. And the door of the lift closed, and I was in the lift with Anna Wintour. And Anna Wintour hates being in the lift with somebody. But she was in the lift locked with me, naked. So I said to Anna Wintour, I'm terribly sorry, I didn't see you. She said, it's all right. The show was magnificent. And Anna Wintour had to admit, she said, I like the show, because usually she not. But that's me painting with my peacock. I never stopped painting. As I said before, I was at art school and painting was my passion. I cannot live without painting. Instead of going to the shrink, I just paint. And whatever I have in me, frustration, depression, anger, whatever, it goes in the painting. My motto would be like the Queen's: never complain, never explain. I do not want to be a victim. I don't want to say, oh, please. And I don't want to explain anything. That's it. You just have to take it or leave it. That's my motto. Thank you very much, W Magazine, for listening to all my memories. I really enjoyed it. Mwah.